I'm sure most of you remember that used to listen to me years ago when I was living in Hong Kong, and I did a video titled Western Women Are Destroying Themselves. And I was talking from the vantage point of mostly Caucasian women. But we can add to that pile many African American women. And it's not that they are, it's that they have. I live and work in a place that's 53% African American, and I have always been very open to dating outside of my race. I have dated outside of my race many, many times. I have no shame in admitting to that. But one thing I've noticed, and I'm going to say it, and women get really upset at this, we've noticed that women can criticize the hell out of men, and they do it all day long. But what we see today is not just what I talked about in 2011, 2012 over in Asia. And Asia's home to some of the most beautiful women out there. From China, the Philippines, to Taiwan, Thailand, and Japan. A lot of pretty ladies over there. Slender, take care of themselves, shave their underarms, don't have cellulite ripples and creases and odors and smells. And I live in the South US. I have never in my life been in such a place where I've seen so many unsightly, undesirable, unattractive women. Now, I've said this before. When I was a kid, we used to do pull-ups on a chin-up bar. And that bar is off the ground. I mean, it's high enough off the ground. But I noticed when you live in a place where the standards are so low, that the bar is lower. And many people can deceive themselves into thinking, oh, I can do chin-ups easily. And I'm going to say some things that are going to offend people. If you're lightweight and you don't want to hear truth, you might want to click the red X in the upper right and exit this video. I've been criticized all my life. The other day, a woman who is not exactly the epitome of beauty was making a comment to me that I was a nerd and that I would like her pastor because he was a nerd. I said, I'm not a nerd. But then I stopped and noted. She goes, well, you think a lot and you think about things that people don't think about. And I said, I know. And that's why our country's going down the hill. I'm not a nerd. I think of Bill Gates. I think of Mark Zuckerberg. Those are nerds. Pacific Ocean, Asia? No. Pacific Ocean tsunami? No. We live in a country called America today where if you have a little bit of knowledge and you actually live inside your head and think about things, now you're branded. So let's brand back, but with truth. A lot of the women that level the criticisms at me, that level them, do not have self-control over their eating and their bodies. A lot of women down here have no sense of shame, no sense of conscience. They'll stretch out, their big belly plops out, and you see a stomach that looks like it was put on the grill too long, rippled, horrid looking. And yet you've got a society of men down here that want to mount and hump that. They don't have good taste down here. They really don't. And I've had an interest in a few slender women here until you spend time with them at work or you see them and you hear them speak. And you realize that, no, Pacific, you don't want to get involved with this. Their political beliefs are not the same as mine. The way they look at the world is not the same as the way I look at the world. And you hear the media crying about whites being racist, whites being privileged, critical race theory taught in public schools to shit shame whites. They act as if though slavery is still going on. And it is going on, but it's not the kind that they think. Blacks long ago were set free, but blacks today willingly subject themselves to a party that feeds them daily lies. They submit themselves to the Democrat Party. They submit themselves to indulging in fat-fried foods and poor and unhealthy eating habits, and still believing and thinking that they're sexy and something to be desired. The one thing I can say is in my workplace, this is the first place I've worked in a long time where I don't struggle with lust of most of my female coworkers. That's the only good thing I can say. But this obesity, why is this so in vogue? Women have criticized me to my face and said, "What's the matter? You don't like a big woman because you can't handle me." Nice pivot. I don't want to handle that. I don't have a desire for that. And let me say something to you women out there, that thing between our legs doesn't lie. I watch women who had bad habits all their life now going, and I don't know the proper term for it, but they're getting their stomach tied off and they lose weight very fast, but they look awful. They lift up their arm and there's all this lunch lady arms or turkey wings or chicken wings. I'm going, and you think that that makes you desirable? There must be something wrong with me. I like a firm, petite, slender woman, generally more smaller breasted, because I just don't like all this. I don't like gravity on bigger breasts. And smaller chested women have been made fun of in our society. And I've talked about this dynamic. Go find a slender, petite woman in America who's actually down to earth, who's interested in just an ordinary guy who works, owns his own home, is financially responsible. They're not interested. They go after men that are just not good. And we live in an upside down world. We guys know this. There's no dispute. There's no dispute. There are men that I know that have nothing wrong with them. Women will not date them or marry them because of things like early hair loss. It seems that many women that are attractive, look at Katy Perry chugging down alcohol the other day and choosing a sweaty, hairy, greasy, smelly football player. I wonder how long that'll last until he gets tired of her shenanigans. I just wonder. But I work with a majority of African American women that are getting, some of them in the last couple of years, I've watched them pooch out and get bigger, and they have an attitude. Some of them are just dangerous, violent, rude. The younger generation of these obese black women is disturbing. I had one a couple of years ago get up in my face. She was 100% in the wrong. She has grown more obese. One day she had her arm up and it was not pretty up there. And I live in a culture of men that go after that. I call it dumpster diving, but that's not even a find. And people will get mad at me and say, that's your opinion, you're mean. Do the women in this society know how mean people have been to me? Criticize my glasses, the length of my hair, my clothing, on and on and on it goes. And you have women have just beat up on men, ridiculed men. In my workplace, we have a white supervisor. I've tried to be nice to her, and she's not nice. She is nasty to people. People do not want to work under her anymore. Management will not deal with her. They'll just move people around. And in my non-managerial experience, I'm thinking, get rid of this one here, you solve a lot of problems. But our country doesn't think that way anymore. They keep evil installed. Her hair's frizzed out. She's got a loud, booming, offensive voice. Tries to think that she's a man, takes authority that isn't due her. She's yell at me, I yell at everybody. Women in the workplace alone is another video. They are not, generally speaking, and you hear women teaching, you're a black woman, you're a black woman. And my thought is, and? I have seen out here in the South that black women favor black women. I have a friend who, in her position as a white woman professional, she said that the black woman in charge of her department will get on the intercom and shout out some black woman's birthday, but they will never shout out a white woman's birthday in the same work environs. That racism exists from black people to white, from black women towards white women is evident out here. But what shocks me is how many black women are very entirely unattractive and undesirable by me and many men that think like me, and they will criticize me. I've had obese women in my workplace say, you know, if you cut your hair and you wear different clothes, you might get a girlfriend. No, babes. I don't have a girlfriend because I'm not willing to lower my standard and date this yucky, garbagey factor. The women that have criticized me the most out here, none of them are sexy. None of them give me a boner looking at them with clothes on. God forbid I saw them naked. I would be throwing up and grabbing a wastebasket. It's interesting how we live in a culture where women today are hideous looking and they're leveling criticisms and put downs at me. I manage my money. I live within my means. I'm clean. I smell good. And when some of us men look better naked than the women we work with, the tide has shifted. Has it not? Has it not? But you cannot get through to these women. They continue to endorse their bad habits. I've talked about white women and their obsession with dogs and letting their dirty, smelly dogs sleep in the bed with them. Those are women to be avoided at all costs. Not just my opinion. And I have leveled charges against Caucasian women that are accurate. I am attracted to Caucasian women, but Caucasian women they push us away. There are African-American men that got videos on YouTube. They will not date African-American women. They said they're uncouth, they lack class. They do things that I wouldn't do. In the workplace, I see characteristics of laziness, a blatant refusal to follow written and or verbal rules from management. They do what they want. Then they have children that show disrespect. They don't shave their underarms, and then they wear that awful deodorant that chunks up with white chunks stuck in all that black, sweaty, curly hair. And you're just like, gosh, that's gross. Women, when I drove a bus, black women, I drive, I'm polite, I'm a safe driver, and they sneer at me. One, because I'm white. Two, because these young people today have no respect. And you got slender women that spend all this money on their hair and nails, and then you smell musty body odor, foot, grown African-American boys that smell like butt cheeks. And they think that they're alpha superior to me. How did we get here? Well, we know the media, the education system is putting one race preferentially above the other. Did you see the Super Bowl the other day? I didn't either. Did you see the halftime show? I didn't either. But I pained myself to watch 2 minutes. Women going on and on about the halftime show and Usher. Now, Usher had a song I like, Candyland. You know, he has some talent. I like that song. That's the only one I can think of. But he did the halftime show. I watched 2 minutes of it, and that's all I could stand. This black culture, hip hop, rap, you watch these guys and you get the feeling that they got a deity complex. The world, man. From the Christian standpoint, they're of the world. They're successful in the eyes of the world. And the only people that praise that are lost souls that are in the world. I'm not a fan of the Super Bowl. I believe that thing was rigged. We knew the Chiefs were going to win. The media is pushing, of all people, Taylor Swift. Not the kind of Caucasian woman any man should date. Chugging alcohol. She claims to be a Christian, but she's endorsing a president and a party that is wholly and solely destructive to this country. But Alicia Keys was with Usher, and do we remember Alicia Keys? Pro-Palestine. Well, Alicia, why don't you get down there in the Gaza and stand up with the Palestinians? Talk is cheap, baby. I liked Alicia Keys' song. But as always, cult popularity and fandom goes to their heads. And most of her music sucks. There was one song by her I liked. When we allow pop culture, whether it's Usher, Alicia Keys, Madonna, Taylor Swift, to move the entire corporate thought in a direction on emotionally driven thinking, not logic, we're in trouble. And that's the plague that besets America. When Tucker, in an interview talking about Putin, said he was safer in Moscow than he was in any American city. When I can walk at 2 or 3 in the morning with pretty young ladies in Hong Kong and no one's going to get raped, jumped, brutally attacked, I wouldn't walk in this place in broad daylight in some neighborhoods as a white male. A black friend of mine at the club the other night said he wouldn't walk in an area of town that is mostly black. He said, yeah, my buddy said, let's go over there. He said, I ain't going down there. They effing shooting everybody over there. People care more about the halftime and some silly, godless, baseless, talentless entertainment. Ooh, a bunch of black people going and parading around and dancing and wow. And what is your contribution to society? What are you doing to turn the direction of disrespectful black youth today? Making them activists to hate us, to turn up police cars and bust up things. That's what I see. And you got black women that have babies, and I see them when I was driving a bus come out of the house, young women with shirts like this, nipples fully out, and the hair under their arms, and they're just sitting in there, bumping men, having babies, getting on the system. And they will sneer in public at me. I've seen it many times. And you just turn around and go, these folks are laughing at me. They are, because they're in their element. They would not make it in some of the towns that I lived in that are mostly Caucasian. People want to say that we're racist, but if you want to come to a community and cause trouble and act up, that community is not going to go for it. And though some of these black women and black men think they're rock stars and alpha complexes, we get into other parts of the country, they would feel what I feel. They'd feel a society that looks at them and says, I don't know who you think you are, but none of us are impressed. We're not buying it. But I've noticed out here, I met a few black women and men that respect me because of my work ethic, respect me because I, as a white person, moved into their midst. But a lot of black women here have commented and criticized. Years ago, when I was fueling a bus, I do not drive the school bus anymore. I have moved into other things. But I was fueling my bus, and a woman who was grossly obese, she was given a new bus by management, and I went out to her bus one day, and it was filthy. It was awful. She is grossly obese. And I hear her say, Pacific, I like you better with short hair. I ignored her. I kept pumping. Hey, did you hear me? What do you need? She said it 3 times, and I ignored all 3 times. And do you know why, viewers, I did that? Because everything in me was bursting. I'd like you better if you weren't 300 pounds. How is it that women in our culture, and not just blacks do this, white women do it too. White women that are skinny as a stick and wear boring Target or Ross clothes, and they're going to criticize me. And I don't even have an interest in them. They'll see me wearing my chain or whatever, and I'm like, you know, it's funny, our culture is shouting diversity. You know, white women are, you know, free Palestine and diversity, and except when it comes to me. Isn't that interesting? Why do I have to conform to what you think I ought to do? I dated an African-American woman in Denver, Colorado. She was beautiful, but 2 months of dating her exhausted me. I finally called her and said, I think we'd be better off friends. Every time I picked her up, she criticized me. You know, if you change your hair, why don't you get a man bun? Why don't you? I said, why don't you find somebody that you want to be exactly what you want? Well, I like you. Well, I don't think you do. She dated guys that had money. She dated an Italian cop in New York City, and he took her to Europe, all expenses paid. But every single one of those men dated and left her. The woman has back issues. The woman has pain. I was going to move her here. She wanted to be around her people, as she said. I thought, yeah, move her to your home that you're working on. She'll criticize, why isn't this done? Why isn't that done? And this entitlement mentality. Women that are undesirable, women, I got on a Facebook site some time ago. It's a page for this awful community that I chose to live in. And people post things about the awfulness of this community. And I said, has anybody noticed that you got women that don't shave their underarms, body odor, the smell of ASS and all this other stuff? And some thumbs up right away. And one white guy said, because people are effing lazy around here, that's why. And a black woman responded, and she writes in the comments, oh, you poor little ting. Ting. Is that like Pootie Tang? Ting. Proper English. I looked at your pictures and I can understand. I wanted to see who was criticizing women's hygiene. Oh, yes. The minute a man levels a criticism at women, here come the women with their magnifying glasses. Look at this guy. Look at the way he's dressed. Look at this. Look at this. Why? Does it bother you, sweetie? Does it bother you? You'll go be friends with gay men and trans men, but you'll ask me, you look like you're gay. I'm not. But what if I was? How come you're not defending me? See, it's a weird dichotomy out there. I'm not gay. There are guys in our world today that are not good-looking men, and they decide to have nails and handbags and spend $600 for handbags. They got the stubble showing. They're grossly overweight, and all the women flock to them. And there are grown black men that want to F-U-C-K these guys being women that are gay. It is a strange dynamic. Slender, attractive white or black women where I live or anywhere in this country have no interest in Pacific. And those women will say, oh, well, see, there's obviously something wrong with him and he's going to comment on us. No, there's something wrong with you because I look at who you choose. It's very sobering. You choose THUGS culture. You choose weed smoking and drinking culture, and or white women will choose a geeky looking guy that drives a Toyota Sequoia and has never pushed a lawnmower in his life because of his income. Women in our culture don't want a man like me who will look them in the eye and say, you're full of bullshit. They want simps. I've said this about preachers in the American pulpits today. I have yet to hear a preacher in my nearly 60 years of existence confront, rebuke, exhort, and call out the sins of women, even Christians. They don't, they won't, because the church goes to market. If a pastor convicts women in American culture, women will get up and they will walk out the door, and they're sorry ASS men with them. Women say they're into truth. Are they? No, women want to rule over us. Women want to boss us around. Women want to tell us and repackage us. They don't like a raw male. They say they do. But do they? I have seen it over and over again. I'm not perfect. I'm divorced. I've made some bad mistakes. But I'm not a danger to women. Women are a danger to me. What really shocks me is I work with women, both white and black, that are very, very big. And they live with boyfriends or got husbands. And I'm like, who would want to have sex with that. Rolls of flesh. And when I've had to work close with them, I'm like, what's that smell? Why does I as a man smell better? And I don't wear cologne. I don't wear Axe. I don't have any desire to wear all that stuff. And I know men have a problem. I live out here and black men size me up when they see me wearing a chain around my neck and give me this crusty look. I'm not a threat to anybody, but obviously they feel uncomfortable with it, like it's an attack on their wannabe manhood. I live in a town where men buy Crown Vics and put 3-foot god-awful silly-looking rims on them and tear up and down the street playing shitty music, and they think that they're a rock star. The other night, some guy was showing off and came down the main street in our town where there's lots of people eating, clubbing, just taking walks, and we're going to go at a high rate of speed. And his car tin can opened the side of 6 parked cars, lost control, flipped over the street he was going down, went over a railing into a center median parking area, separating the boulevard, and whacked a bunch of other cars, and lots of police cars showed up. Women like men like that. And it's funny, in the bus driving sector, when I was driving a school bus, a lot of women that get into school bus driving are not the epitome of physical prowess. They like that job because they can sit on their big behind. And they are judging and criticizing me and men, but they'll praise Usher, they'll praise Snoop Dogg, they'll praise Tupac Shakur, they'll praise Prince. These are great men, right? In the black community, oh hell yeah. Michael Jackson sleeping with 12-year-old white boys, never was jailed for it either. Isn't that interesting? Prince, who was a freak and a half. Weird, just flat out strange. Tupac, who got shot because birds of a THUG feathered. You got black women wearing Tupac. Obama. I'm surrounded by people in a workplace. This is Black History Week. And they got a thing on the door, and I do not participate in it. One, because it's been shoved in my face so many times, I don't care. I don't care to know any of it anymore. I learned what I could from the black community, and it really has nothing more to offer me. And no white person should feel bad about that. I just feel that my culture and Asian culture and other cultures of the world have an awful lot more to contribute than African American culture, not to be confused with Africa. I have a couple friends from Africa that are very nice, pretty ladies that dress nice and know 2 to 3 languages fluently. I work with people that break the rules and get around stuff, and they use terms like snitches get stitches instead of cleaning up their act. And men want to dumpster dive with these gross women. And even when I'm working on my house, people I know will pull up, men that I've respected that are black, and they'll pull up and say, hey, I want to introduce to you my queen. And they start dating somebody who's sitting in the seat of the truck this big, and you're just like, wow, how do they get turned on by that? And women come back, well, that's not very nice. Everybody's different. I agree with that. But why do men, and why is it that it's not just slender women with this uppity attitude? You got obese women that have bad hygiene habits, bad spending habits, bad debt management habits, bad kids. They're lazy. And they're over me in leadership in a workplace. They're crusty, they're curmudgeon, have no self-control, and they think they're sexy. There was a song by a musician, I don't even know her name, but she was a white woman who had dreadlocks that shows a white guy being hung upside down with a rope in her video. And her song is called Nothing Sweet About Me. She's good looking, sort of, but you got this mentality with slender white girls, the BITCH factor. They're proud of it. And she says the world's a better place when it's upside down. Is it? We're upside down. I don't think it's better. And black or white women or any women, if you want to be 450 pounds, knock yourself out. But for the love of God, don't criticize me and men that are not attracted to you. I have a sex drive. I have a sensual side. I don't want to romance that. The smells, the sights make me vomit. And you women all judge me. You judge us men. And I've gotten to a point where it's like, consider the source. Why am I going to sit there and bow under and submit myself to the thinking of women judging my manner of dress, my hair? Why don't you get contacts? Why don't you go on a weight loss program? Why don't you wear deodorant? Why don't you invest in a razor? Somebody posted on a page about this town. It showed a razor full of thick black hair. Said Valentine's Day coming. And it wasn't directed at men. It was directed at the local women. Gross. There are men that say, oh, I like hairy armpits. Hey, babe, go for it. Put your face in that and lick it and eat it and pick them out of your teeth. I don't like it. Women want to judge me because of my style, but I'm not stinking. Have you seen the way women dress today? You're 350 pounds and you got all this cleavage showing up and your midriff showing that's spilling out over your pants, and you call that Vogue? None of us should be shamed by the lazy, obese, no self-control women. They're in positions of leadership over us. We got to move and groove with these people. If you cannot maintain discipline over your body, you do not have leadership skills. But guess what? America's been hell-bent on rewarding the lowest common denominator in our society. They have pedestalized the Black community, that 13% of the American populace that has the highest violent crime, the highest percentile crime of any race in the USA. The halftime is dominated by Blacks pushing Black ways. And silly women say, oh, the Usher halftime was crap. I don't care who Usher is. I don't have to get in line and bow to this guy. That's not manhood to me. A bunch of people dancing like they're GAY and, wow, such raw talent, but can you do anything? And Black people pride themselves on that they can go rapidy rap. But can you change society for the better? No. And you've got women in that culture that I would say the lion's share of African-American women are not attractive, not desirable, not pretty. I'd go so far as to say 75% of the Black women in the African-American community are not desirable as a mate. They're physically just let their bodies go to hell. And they're judging our race, and they're judging me. I can't help this. You can help obesity. I never thought I'd see the time come when I lived in a country and I moved to a part of the country where it's not only foreign to me, but it's so left of center. It's scary. It's sobering. When a woman can sing nothing sweet about me, and she's proud of it. I noticed a long time ago that our culture shifted, and it started with Roseanne Barr. Got some heavy winds going on. The smart ass, smarky, smirky, and that's what we've become. That this culture is so filled with devils and demons and this minions of Satan that you can go to Moscow and be safer and have culture and food and enjoy yourself. But even the city I live, you better watch out what neighborhood you drive, walk, or wander into in daylight, not just in the dark. And when people in America think that Usher's halftime was the bomb, and they don't even care about all this swirling madness of crime. Yes, I wish I could move to another country and not have to deal with this. Black women, I was singing a song to a coworker. There's trouble in my way. I have to cry sometimes. I lay awake at night. Jesus, he will fix it. How do you know that song? How do you know that? Wow, that's deep, lady. How you know that? Talking in the broken English at the Filipino woman I chased in Hong Kong, who was a waste of my time, who had been raised on Hollywood and thought that she was entitled to great riches and could sit on her butt and smart off to everybody and get an expensive phone and be on social media and be nasty to me. 4 years later, Pacific woke up and chucked it. And what is sad is we men are so bad, we have gone after we've invested and spent so much time and energy pursuing all these women that are criticizing the hell out of us. And it really is better to be single. And churches bang on men for masturbation, lust, and porn. Well, guess what, preacher? As long as you keep manufacturing this garbage scow of women like this, we're going to keep looking at porn, masturbating, and lust because you are not dealing with the problem. You're not a part of the solution. You're just beating up on men and playing simp. That is a real factor. And churches yell, go to church, don't forsake the assembling yourselves together. Why? To get around sorry men that want to please their sorry wives that are boring, materialistic, and single guys like me are ignored. There is no outreach to us. And I go to a workplace where women want to judge and package me, and it's like, and I'm going to start getting more pointed the next time somebody says something. If you're going to judge me in the way I dress, might I suggest to you to take a diet class? Watch how angry they get. And I'll say, wait a minute. You're judging me for my style. I'm not attracted to that. I don't care what you think about me. Women want to be lord over us men. It's ridiculous. They're not even lord over themselves. And I'm not here to pick on black women. I've seen some black women that are stunning. but they're not in the majority in this country. Their behavior, their laziness, their slothfulness, their lack of proper raising children. And it's weird to be among a people that is so judgmental of me when I soar at 36,000 feet over most of them just in my day-to-day life. Like a pigeon judging an eagle. Yes, America breeds, and they breed like rabbits. Undesirable white, black, Asian, and Hispanic women. I'm not even going to talk about the Hispanic community. I worked at Denver schools years ago, and I got a bird's eye view. I worked with a Hispanic woman who was covered in acne all the way down the face, down the shoulders. She had long hair and she was conceited. She was stuck up. She prides herself in being a bitch. She prides herself in F-U-C-K and the F word. And I have spoken with her, and I've tried to be nice, but I see in her, man, she really is. And men will go after her. Hispanic men are just too eager to eat dinner at her Y. And she brags she has boy toys. And it's like, can you imagine being next to somebody's face that's covered in acne? I mean, bad. And they judge me. They laugh and mock me. And what I started to realize, a lot of this is racist. I'm white. They don't like whites. They don't date outside the race. Many Hispanic women are extremely racist. They'll keep dating their own Hispanic kind and then complain about them, never breaking out of their, Einstein's definition of insanity. Why don't you date somebody outside your race? But Hispanics have turned me off. I don't look at Hispanic women. I don't have any interest in them. Unless they're from the islands, the Caribbean. They don't turn me on. And it's because I've been scarred. And there's a lot of anti-white hatred going around in this country. And I've had the privilege of living in a culture in Denver, living in a culture here in what they call the Dirty South. And I know why they call it the Dirty South. Because a lot of women are dirty. It's smelly down here. It's stinky down here. There's bad habits, bad hygiene, no hygiene. And you got teenage boys and girls that look at me and go, black girls who got 6 inches of filthy hair, no bra, midriff showing, and you go, God, it looks like she rolled out of bed in her greasy sweatpants. When's the last time she washed all that hair? Ugh. It's weird to live in a place that's mocking me. How about a house that was dominated by black women? They destroyed the place. Rats, cockroaches, rot in the walls, damaged studs eating that much. I have busted my butt in here. And in the back, what used to be storage, which is no more because I tore it out, bags of stilettos and booty dresses and cleavage revealing dresses and pictures of the woman that owned them. She spent more money on her clothes and her hair and outfits. And I threw all that stuff out. What am I going to do with it? Bags and bags and bags of this, but the house was deplorable. And that's how black women capture. It's a bait and switch. A night of some intimate fun and you have a child and you hook up with that, they'll drain your bank account. They'll destroy your home. They won't check the oil in their car and they'll blow it up and go get in debt for another one. I see this out here. I'm not saying all black women are like that, but a lot of them are. And they're going to judge my clothing. Why do you cut the neck out of your shirt like a crop top? Because it's hotter than hell in the South. You think me changing my clothes is going to make these women want me anymore? I used to wear normal shirts. It doesn't make a difference. There is a lot of GHETTO in the women down here. They're foul, they're uncouth, they don't like class. They don't like classy music, they don't like classy stuff. And they criticize us. They'll say all kinds of things about men, never looking and analyzing and holding the full view, full length mirror in front of their own faces. And it's not just the white community of women do this. You'll never hear a white woman say, I'm sorry. There are some black women that will say, I'm sorry. That is a strength. I've talked about Caucasian women. A slender, petite, attractive woman doesn't feel that I'm worthy for her. These women aren't worthy. They love dogs, they smoke, they drink, they do this. One woman I met they used to work for, she was attractive. She divorced her husband and moved back in with him because they're raising the kids together. And she sells her reliable car and gets a Mustang, and the Mustang, she gets in debt for it, and it blows up underneath her. And I'm like, well, why? I think good looking is a trap. And I think that attractive, good looking women are led by a ring in their nose by Satan himself. You look at what they're choosing, you look at what they're doing, you look at the ungodly attitude that they will judge me with. They won't judge my work ethic. They won't judge what I've done to my home. They won't judge the difference I make in the lives of people every day. They'll judge these. They'll judge this. It's amazing to me. I had a woman at the club come up to me and asked if I had been to a local place where there's sword fights. It's a sleazy, gross, eyesore motel hotel where gay antics go on. I thought she was talking about a country because it has the name of a country. I said, no, I lived in home. No, I'm talking about that place. No, that's for gay men. Well, I thought she was gay. She had me come out, sit in her car and talk to her. And she said she got into drugs and she was dating a guy who molested her handicapped son. And I should have said, so you'll judge me and I don't molest kids. And you get into drugs and you're judging me and your life, you're sitting here crying in the car and telling me that you can't handle things. And you told a couple that I was friends with, oh, I wouldn't go out with him. He looks like he's gay. But you'll date an a-hole who's molesting your boy and you're doing drugs and you're about to lose your car because you can't keep up the payments. I love how American women hypocritically judge me, and I don't have any of those problems that they're struggling with. They won't choose a guy like me. They won't respect a guy like me. They won't learn from a guy like me and go, my gosh, this guy turned his house around. He's trying to make a home. I want that. I've said it before. Most single women in this country, especially at my age, are wrecking balls. We've been criticized over and over by women, the media, on and on. But women have caused some major collateral damage. When Usher gets traction in a halftime in the Super Bowl, I could care less about the Super Bowl. To watch women screaming and yelling at a TV in a sweaty, hairy man's sport. None of those guys in football are good looking. They're beasts. Most of them don't make good husbands. They're making more money than people in dangerous jobs make. This isn't a job, it's playtime. And they're crybabies when they don't get multi-million-dollar contracts. The women are vain and they like all that. White McMansions and white Escalades and being seen with that. Yeah. Anybody want to look at Mr. Brady and his South America wife? That just went into the trash can. You think Taylor Swift and a Kansas City Chief are going to have holy matrimony? A man wants to go with a woman chugging beer. Taylor Swift is an ego trip. She's a narcissist, and she's become deity status in this country, and her music sucks. I listen to music that is 1,000 times deeper and better and actually has a band and intensity to it. Taylor Swift? What the heck was that? Did you see that? Something just went. It's like when you go to Goodwill or Salvation Army or thrift store. You ever seen that crap that you've seen at a garage sale and you're inside going, this just needs to go into the trash. And the stickers even says on it, bric-a-brac. Taylor Swift is bric-a-brac culture, and somebody in football that could probably have any woman he wants got a boner over that. What is so awesome about Taylor Swift? Is there mystique? Is there sensuality? No. She's another cookie cutter American Caucasian female that is boring. Her music is boring. Her lifestyle is boring. But she's bric-a-brac and she attracts bric-a-brac culture. And even people have admitted that her own fans are very obnoxious. Apple falls not far from the tree. But it's amazing how something in this culture can get traction. And because they have an immature, undiscerning, bric-a-brac fan base, it goes to their head, and they would say to me, this is coming from some loser on YouTube that can't get a girlfriend. That's what they do. That's the way it works in this culture. Meaning, because I'm not popular, therefore I'm a fail. You see how social media has changed? Do you see how social media carries more merit than actual integrity? Does Taylor Swift do what I do? Does she actually reach people and make a difference for the better? Hell no. No. Not at all. Any of these people that make it to stardom are immature, narcissistic, materialistic, and vain. They're godless. And when America wants to put that on a pedestal, when our streets are crumbling under criminal decay, people screaming and yelling about Tucker interviewing Putin. Did you notice that Putin does not carry himself like this joker president, like Pelosi, like Ilhan Omar? Putin is smarter than all those dames in Washington. I would feel safer getting a job and working under Putin's regime than I do with this current president. Do I endorse Russia? No, I don't. But if Putin and his cabinet offered me a job and I could have my beliefs and I could live my life, I'd go. Why? This country is a mess. Now, one closure. Russian women, Ukraine women are to be avoided. They're beautiful, but they're nasty. They will clean you out and roto-root your life. out of all the internet dating you guys can do, stay away. Russia and Ukraine are some of the hottest looking white women in the world. Some of them have the bodies I desire in a woman. But this and this, you better watch yourself. Russian women are nasty. They're about money, and they're not sweethearts. If I met a Russian woman, some of these gals that I've seen their looks, and they were even wired somewhat on my wavelength, and they weren't gold diggers and dangerous, I'd take that over an Asian woman any damn day. I'm going to say something. The more exposure I've got to other races, I find something happening to me. I'd rather be with my own. People will charge me with racism. When most of the black women I work with are smelly, obese, unshaven armpits, uncouth, don't like good music, don't like class, don't like knowledge, call me a nerd, because even though I'm not a nerd, their level of IQ is way the hell down here. And you see it in their work and their behaviors. And why in the hell would I want to bed down with that? I've spent 4 years working on this wreck of a house. Do you know how fast a black woman can destroy this place by her bad habits? A week. They don't appreciate this. They don't appreciate an old door and character. They don't get into that. There are some that do. Most don't. Viewers, Pacific doesn't think he's God's gift to women, but I'm going to tell you something. All those women that have criticized me out there, they ain't worth a dime in a bucket. They're riding on the fumes of their own selfishness. And women that want to gain weight, be lazy, and get bigger and bigger and not shave and have an armpit that is disgusting to look at, and they think they're all that or want to look down their giant facial nose at me, I will take what they have to say and I will put it right here where it belongs. Not valid, not credible, not noteworthy. Thank you for listening. This is the one and only Pacific.